wants to kill Temu. And if you are one of the 124 million people who watched the Super Bowl last week and saw Temu's 6 ads, you might want to kill them too. Also, you probably realize that Temu is not going down without a fight. In case you have managed to miss it, Temu is a Chinese e-commerce company similar to Amazon that sells everything from clothing to electronics to things you never even knew you needed and frankly, did not realize existed. Like an emotional support pickle for $1.74. If you've ever wanted a throw blanket that looks like a raw piece of steak, I have very exciting news for you. For the low price of $7.78, it's now yours. You can have this. But my favorite part of Temu, and by that I mean absolutely my least favorite part of Temu, is their app, where they sell you things like an auctioneer who is absolutely fritzing. Do I hear $3.99 for a charger going once? Going once? Going once? Going once? I'll give you 2 free items. I'll give you, if you buy this charger, I'll give you 2 free items. I'll give you 2 free items. I'll give you 2 free items. You got 5 minutes to spend it, or else you're gonna lose out on the deal. You're gonna lose out on the deal. Going once, going once. And yet, if you feel like you've been seeing Temu everywhere recently, you're probably right. There's a joke that all overnight successes actually took 10 years to build, but in the case of Temu, they've actually been an overnight success. Temu launched in July of 2022, and in 2023, it was the most downloaded app on the US Apple App Store of anything. Temu is now the second most popular e-commerce app in the App Store, behind Amazon. And look, Amazon has had competition before. There's a company called Wish that you may have heard of, a somewhat popular e-commerce site that looked for a period of time like it was maybe giving Amazon a run for its money, until it wasn't. And its share price is currently under $10, down from its $900 high just a few years ago. But Temu is built different. The fact that it is owned by PDD gives it some significant advantages that other Silicon Valley-backed startups don't have. For one thing, cash. And that starts with PDD and therefore Temu's deep fucking pockets. Temu doesn't have to rely on venture capitalists or raising money. PDD did $27 billion, nearly $28 billion in revenue last year. And they're willing to put a lot of that money to work in Temu. PDD is expected to spend $3 billion on advertising on Temu this year in the US market alone. Temu is in fact advertising so much on social media in the United States that they are literally driving up the ad prices on social media for other companies. The CEO of Etsy said that Temu and another Asian-based retailer, Shein, were, quote, almost single-handedly having an impact on the cost of advertising. And the price of an advertisement to reach every 1,000 people on a web page on Meta has increased 24% from 2022 until now. And this, again, is largely being attributed to Temu and other retailers like it, Shein being the other major one. And aside from just its money and deep pockets, Temu has the benefits of an experienced team behind it with PDD and Pinduoduo. PDD sharpened its teeth in the Chinese e-commerce market, going after the giant Alibaba and, by some metrics, winning. Pinduoduo was the fastest growing e-commerce app in China for a period of time, and they recently just overtook Alibaba as the most valuable Chinese e-commerce company. And that, of course, really is PDD, Pinduoduo's parent company. But finally, and this is most interesting to me, one of the advantages that PDD and Temu have working for them is that they're using Amazon's own strategy against them. Here's some irony for you. There has historically been a stigma around Chinese-made products. Sure, we all know when we go to the stores, Walmart, Target, etc., everything we buy is made in China, but we wouldn't have considered purchasing things directly from China or from many foreign countries for that matter. There's stigmas around the quality concern, there's shipping issues, there's the sense that there's going to be no recourse if something is problematic, but a lot of that has started to change in recent years, and that's mostly due to Amazon. Amazon has done more than perhaps any other company to acclimate US consumers to the idea of buying from a market or buying from a store in China, buying from China directly in many ways. And that has made the water warm for Temu. To get more specific about this, it used to be that China would sell products, that Chinese-made products were sold to brands that would sell in Walmart and in Target, etc. But with the rise of Amazon, a lot of these manufacturers saw the opportunity to go directly to US consumers to cut out what they saw as the middleman at the time and just sell through Amazon storefronts. And Amazon welcomed this. In fact, they aggressively pursued Chinese sellers to come and build storefronts on Amazon. Some describe this shift as a move from made in China to sold by China. And they think a third wave might be coming, which could pose a big problem for Amazon. But for now, these Chinese and Asian sellers are a big part of Amazon's e-commerce business. The number of China-based sellers on Amazon has ballooned to over 1 million, having been just 15,000 a decade ago. This has, as I've said, paved the way for companies like Temu, who continue to try and normalize the idea of buying directly from China by doing perhaps the most American thing of all, showing up at the Super Bowl. And this puts Amazon in a bind. Nearly 50% of the top third-party sellers on Amazon are based in China. Tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars come into Amazon through Asian sellers who are buying ad space on the page, paying Amazon to store and ship their products, etc. And this makes it hard for Amazon to know how to react to this new Temu threat. Amazon is afraid of losing their Chinese sellers to Chinese native apps like Temu, but at the same time, if they adopt some of the practices that are popular by Chinese-based apps like Pinduoduo and now Temu, like, for example, allowing sellers to offer free or discounted products in exchange for good reviews, well, then they risk worse quality control and slipping and worse customer service, which is a cornerstone of the Amazon brand. Overall, this dynamic has led to people suggesting that there is a third wave coming. There's not just made in China, sold by China. There's going to be made in China, sold by China, and ultimately marketed by China, where American businesses are cut out altogether. The made in China era was when Walmart dominated. The sold by China era was when Amazon came in and dominated. And this marketed by China era is one in which the Chinese native companies themselves will be dominant. But this future is very much not guaranteed, at least the size and scope of it. I think it's pretty safe to say that these Chinese-based apps will have some role to play in our lives forevermore, but will they ever really be able to compete with Amazon? That's unclear. PDD may have made $28 billion last year, but Amazon overall made $574 billion. We're talking about not even on the same planet. And the stakes are high for PDD while success is not guaranteed. Pinduoduo's market share in China has been slipping as other competitors enter the market and eat away at their share. And so expanding into the US and other regions is a necessary part of their growth plan if they are going to combat that thing that is capitalism's enemy, which is stagnation. A Temu company insider apparently told a Wired reporter that Temu's long-term goal would be to have Americans shopping at Temu at least 30 times a year with an average order price of $50. So 30 times a year, you're spending at least $50 on Temu, which honestly at this point strikes me as hard to do. I genuinely think it would be hard to spend $50 at Temu because the prices are just that low. But that, of course, is also part of their problem and a huge headwind they're going to have to tackle. Right now, they've been able to lure people with gimmicks like free products if they download the app and heavy discounts, free money, frankly, on the app. But that is not what we call in the business world sustainable. That won't work. And Temu has long been accused of horrendous things like using forced labor to keep cost of goods down, or B, taking a loss on every sale so that they can maintain their super low prices. Now, interestingly, Temu has denied both of these things. But the thing is, they have to be lying because phone chargers don't cost $3.99 unless you're subsidizing it or you're not paying the workers who are making it. JP Morgan estimated that Temu probably loses about $7 for every order. So every time somebody spends money with them, they lose $7. But the Temu insider, who apparently talked to Wired, actually said that number was closer to $30 per order. On every order, Temu is losing almost as much money as they want American consumers to ultimately spend on every order. Of course, Temu is not even close to the first company to employ this strategy of losing a lot of money upfront to woo customers so that you can ultimately make money later. In fact, Temu is not even the first subsidiary of PDD to attempt this strategy. And Silicon Valley basically ran on this strategy for about a decade. But for every company like Amazon that managed to dig itself out of that hole of money losing to become a big time money maker, there is a graveyard full of companies that didn't make it out of that hole. And Amazon is certainly praying that Temu becomes one of them. So will they? Will Amazon successfully kill Temu? I don't know. I mean, the truth is, like I said earlier, I think obviously these apps are going to be with us for quite some time. The question is about scale and scope, and if we really do have some new third wave that gets ushered in where it's marketed by China. Now, something we didn't even talk about in this video is perhaps the biggest competitor to all of these of all, which is the TikTok shop that is controlled by the Chinese company ByteDance, which is the parent company to TikTok. For my part, I think the huge advantage that Amazon has is the moat that they have built, which is around customer service. Amazon's whole ethos is to be obsessively obsessed with its customer. And that shows. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had an issue with an Amazon product or something you've bought from Amazon. The customer service is freaking awesome. And in a world where it feels like customer service is just getting worse and worse and it's harder to get somebody on the phone and somebody real, Amazon really stands out for that. And that's, of course, to say nothing about what they've done in terms of free shipping and same-day shipping and quick turnaround times. And it's to say nothing about the absolute walk on the beach that is shopping on the Amazon app compared to the cocaine den that is the Temu app. But perhaps that is clouding my judgment. Perhaps Temu is a bigger threat than I want to admit, simply because I would rather slide down a razor blade into a vat of acid than have to spend my life shopping on the Temu app. But that may just be me, and it is very possible that the generation coming up behind me, who's used to all of the flashing and the bells and the whistles and the screens and the big bold lettering and all of the rest of it, they may like it. In any case, that is our episode for today. Please do like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear from you, and thank you for being here.